My name is Delilah Reynolds and I am 24 years old. 6 months ago, my mother gave away my car, the SUV my grandmother had gifted me for my 24th birthday. She handed the keys to my older sister Scarlett and told me, "Scarlett needs it more. You're single. Uber is more convenient for you." I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I just watched my car disappear from my life, like I never mattered at all. Then came Grandma Eleanor's 70th birthday party. I showed up in an Uber. 40 family members watched me walk through those restaurant doors. When Grandma asked where my car was, my mom smiled that same smile and repeated those same words, in front of everyone. What happened next made every person in that room realize they had severely underestimated both me and my grandmother. Growing up, I was always the invisible one. My family wasn't large. Just my parents, my older sister Scarlett, and me. Scarlett was 4 years older, with mom's blonde hair, mom's green eyes, mom's laugh. People always said they could be twins. I took after my dad's side. Darker hair, quieter, a tendency to observe rather than participate. From the very beginning, Scarlett was the star. I was the shadow. When we were kids, if Scarlett wanted my toy, Mom would say, "Delilah, share with your sister. You're more flexible." If Scarlett needed the bigger room, Mom would explain that Scarlett had more friends over, and I'd understand, right? I learned early that flexible was just another word for expendable. By the time I turned 20, I'd built my own life. I worked as a freelance content writer. Remote work that paid well, but because I didn't commute to an office, Mom never considered it a real job. Then came my 24th birthday. Mom called a week before and said, "Come to the house Saturday, we have something for you." I almost didn't go. But something in her voice, an unusual warmth, made me curious. When I arrived, the whole family was there. And in the driveway, wrapped in a giant red bow, sat a navy blue Honda CR-V. I stopped breathing. Mom handed me the keys, smiling like she'd invented generosity. Grandma Eleanor stood by the garage watching. When our eyes met, she smiled. Not her usual smile, something deeper and knowing. That car wasn't just transportation. It was the first time in 24 years I felt visible, acknowledged, like I actually existed in this family beyond being Scarlett's shadow. I drove that car everywhere for 10 months, built memories in it, made it mine. Then Scarlett's minivan broke down and everything changed. 3 weeks before Grandma's birthday party, I drove to my parents' house for Sunday dinner and spotted my SUV in the garage, with Ethan's car seat strapped in the back. Mom said Scarlett was just borrowing it while her van was in the shop. A week passed, no car. 2 weeks, still nothing. When I called Mom, her tone shifted cold. "Scarlett has a child. She needs reliable transportation. You work from home. You can Uber." I said it was my car. She said I was being materialistic and hung up. I called Scarlett directly. She sounded distracted, Ethan crying in the background. She said Mom told her I was fine with it. I gripped my phone so hard I thought the screen might crack. Nobody had asked me anything. Scarlett said we'd work it out at Grandma's party, then hung up before I could respond. I sat in my apartment staring at the Uber app and realized something that made my chest tight. If I stayed silent now, this would happen again and again. Every time Scarlett needed something, Mom would volunteer my resources, my time, my space, my life. I would be flexible forever. The day of Grandma Eleanor's 70th birthday arrived with perfect autumn weather. The restaurant was one of those places that whispered money. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, waiters who moved like ghosts. Mom had reserved the private dining room for 40 guests. I took an Uber. As I smoothed my emerald dress and walked toward the door, I saw it. My SUV, parked 3 spots from the entrance, with a baby on board sticker I never bought plastered on the rear window. Inside, the private dining room buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. Grandma Eleanor sat at the head of the long table, elegant in navy blue, her silver hair swept back. At 70, she still had the posture of a dancer and eyes that missed nothing. Then during the main course, Grandma looked directly at me. "Delilah, sweetheart." Her voice cut through the chatter. "I noticed you arrived alone. Where's that beautiful car we got you for your birthday?" 40 heads turned my way. Before I could open my mouth, Mom's voice rang out from across the table. Oh, Delilah gave it to Scarlett. Scarlett has little Ethan, you know. She needed reliable transportation for the baby. Delilah is so understanding. We're so proud of how generous she's become. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. How sweet, such a good sister. Family helps family. I sat frozen, my fork suspended halfway to my mouth. Mom had just rewritten history in front of everyone. I didn't give anything. I was robbed in slow motion. Grandma's eyes hadn't left my face. She tilted her head slightly. You gave it away, Delilah? Her voice was calm. Too calm. Or was it taken? The murmurs stopped. Mom's smile flickered. I swallowed hard. Looked at Mom's warning glare. Looked at Scarlett's frozen expression. Looked at Grandma's steady gaze, and finally said, "No one asked me. I was told Scarlett was borrowing it for a week. That was 3 weeks ago. I tried to get it back. Mom said Scarlett needed it more, because she has a family, because I'm single." I paused. Because I'm flexible. The room had gone completely silent. Grandma rose slowly, unhurried. "Linda," she said, addressing my mother, "do you remember coming to me last year before Delilah's birthday? You asked me for money from the family trust, $28,000, to buy Delilah a car for her 24th birthday. You said you wanted to show her she mattered. You said she had often felt overlooked. Those were your exact words." The whispers erupted around the table. Mom's face had gone from pale to almost gray. Uncle Robert was already reaching under the table for a manila envelope. He stood and read aloud from the documents inside. A family trust agreement confirming that the funds were designated specifically for Delilah's car, that the vehicle could not be transferred or loaned to any other family member without Delilah's explicit written consent. He also read a handwritten letter, signed by my mother, promising that the car would remain mine and mine alone, and acknowledging that I'd often felt overlooked. Mom had written those words herself. She'd promised to do better. And then she broke every single promise the moment it became inconvenient. Aunt Piper, Mom's younger sister, stood up. "I sat through this exact treatment when we were kids," she said, her voice firm but carrying decades of weight. "I was the flexible one in our house. You got the bigger room, the newer clothes, the later curfew. And every single time I complained, Mom and Dad said I should be more understanding. I spent years in therapy learning that wasn't normal. And now I'm watching you do the exact same thing to Delilah." The room was cemetery silent. Scarlett was crying openly now. "Aunt Piper," she said, "I really didn't know. Mom told me Delilah said yes." "Then you should have asked," Piper replied without softening. "That's the whole point. You should have asked." Grandma nodded slowly. "This isn't about a car anymore. This is about whether our family treats all its members with respect, or only the ones who demand it loudest." She turned to Scarlett and said simply, "The keys. Now." Scarlett reached into her purse and pulled out my keychain, the one with the small silver compass charm I'd bought at a flea market the week after I got the car. She walked toward me, each step heavy, and placed the keys in my palm. The metal was warm and familiar. My keys, my car. Mine again. Mom offered a thin, forced apology, but something had shifted in me during that hour. I didn't need her to crumble. I needed her to understand. I stood up, keys in hand, and spoke clearly. "From now on, any decision that involves me, my property, or my life, you ask me directly. Not through Scarlett, not through Dad. Me. I'm not the flexible one. I'm not the backup option. I'm your daughter, and I deserve to be asked." Grandma looked at me from across that table and said softly, "That's my granddaughter." And for the first time in 24 years, I felt like I actually existed in this family. Before we left, Grandma made one final announcement. Going forward, she would work directly with each grandchild from the family trust. No more parents acting as intermediaries, deciding who deserves what. Mom looked like she'd been slapped. The room nodded in approval, and just like that, the power structure of our family shifted forever. Some things, I was learning, couldn't be fixed with a single phone call. When Mom called 2 weeks later, the first thing she asked about was whether Grandma had said anything about the trust distributions. I told her if she wanted to know about the trust, she should ask Grandma herself, and if she ever wanted to talk about what actually happened, I'd be here. Then I hung up. A month later, Scarlett texted me, not about cars or money or drama, just 3 words. Coffee. Really talk. We met at a small cafe near my apartment. She arrived looking exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy ponytail. She told me she'd been the priority her whole life and had stopped questioning it. She said Mom made it easy not to think. I'm not blaming Mom, she said. I'm an adult. I should have asked you. I reached across the table. I don't need you to be perfect, I told her. I just need you to ask. To see me, that's all I've ever wanted. She grabbed my hand. I'm trying. It wasn't a fix, but it was a start. 6 months later, Grandma and I had our own Sunday ritual. I'd drive my SUV, compass charm back on the keychain, straight to her house. We'd sit in her sunny kitchen drinking properly brewed tea, while she told me stories about Grandpa and the years before everything got complicated. One afternoon, she said, "You know why I like you, Delilah? Because you remind me of me. I was the flexible one, too, the youngest girl in a house full of brothers. Your grandfather was the first person who actually saw me. He told me I was wasting myself being small, and he made me promise never to shrink again." I thought about all the years I'd spent shrinking, making myself smaller so others could feel bigger. I wish someone had told me that sooner, I said. Grandma squeezed my hand and smiled. I'm telling you now, I'm 25 years old. I have my apartment, my job, my car with its little compass charm, and my weekly tea with a 70-year-old woman who refuses to let me shrink. I'm not the flexible one anymore. I'm the one with boundaries. And if you're listening to this, if you're stuck in a family that overlooks you, takes from you, expects you to always be the one who gives in, I want you to hear this. You have the right to say no. You have the right to be asked. You have the right to take up space in your own life. Someone out there sees you, and you don't have to wait for them. You can start speaking up for yourself today.